In the forest, Lisbeth carries a large bag and Sarah offers to help. Lisbeth declines, insisting she's fine and explaining that it's better for the group if she carries it. Eve and Tukur agree, reminding everyone Lisbeth is part of their team. Tukur asks her to speak up if she gets tired, and Pygmy Mart is tasked with keeping watch. The group moves forward, glad they have enough food and water, but soon they sense a monster nearby. Eve steps up to fight it while the others hide. Tukur notices the creature looks like ones from the ruins of Disposal, except for its seaweed-like head. As Eve fights, Tukur casts a paralysis spell on the monster from his hiding spot. Once it's immobilized, he poisons it. After defeating the creature, Tukur realizes the monsters here are weaker than he expected. He searches the monster for useful materials, which interests Sarah. He tells her he read about this type of monster in the Book of Forbidden Arts, and when she checks the book, she finds it is an ingredient for a forbidden item. Seeing Sarah's interest, Tukur offers her the book, and she thanks him. Tukur realizes he should be cautious around her, as she easily reads his intentions. Continuing their journey, the group reaches a river. Tukur crosses easily, and Lisbeth follows. Eve offers help, but Lisbeth insists on doing it alone. She slips, but Pygmy Mart catches her just in time. Eve thanks Tukur for planning ahead, but he says he's helping because it benefits him too. After crossing, Lisbeth notices the group whispering and asks if they were talking about her. Eve quickly denies it, joking about rare half-elf children. She then teases Sarah about what her children with Tukur might look like. Distracted, Sarah slips into the water. Emerging drenched, she apologizes, surprising the group. Tukur wraps his coat around her, joking it smells like him, and Sarah says she doesn't mind, catching him off guard. As they move on, Eve senses danger again. Sarah steps up to protect Lisbeth, while Tukur asks Eve if she knows the creatures. Eve admits she can't defeat them. Tukur realizes this is what made Eve and Lisbeth flee the land of monsters. He tells Eve to retreat and hides behind a tree. When the monsters approach, Tukur paralyzes them and casts a berserk spell, finishing the fight quickly. Afterward, Tukur levels up and starts collecting materials from the monsters. Eve asks if he's planning to eat them, but Sarah explains they're used to enhanced slimes like Pygmy Mart. Suddenly, they all sense a brief, intense wave of murderous intent, which quickly fades. Pygmy Mart alerts Tukur that the source is in his bag. Tukur finds the egg he picked up earlier is glowing. It cracks open and a horse-like creature emerges, growing rapidly into a full-size beast. The group is stunned, unsure of what kind of creature it is. The horse rubs against Tukur, and he notices an organ on its back for absorbing magic. Curious, Tukur pours magic into the creature, causing it to grow larger. After feeding it more magic, the horse transforms into a massive, 8-legged creature. Tukur names it Slee, short for Sleipnir, after Odin's legendary horse. The beast responds warmly, and when Sarah pets it, the horse licks her affectionately. As they continue, Tukur watches strange lights in the distance, wondering if they're caused by monsters fighting. Sarah points out that they are heading toward the northeast, the home of the troublesome goddess they all hate. Eventually, they make camp for the night, knowing they are getting closer to their goal. The next morning, Sarah notices Tukur is missing. Eve reassures her that Tukur wouldn't abandon them. They find him surrounded by defeated monsters, calmly explaining he sensed them nearby and took care of the threat. Eve is impressed, especially when she sees that one of the creatures was a human-faced beast. Tukur downplays the feat, saying it wasn't too difficult compared to what he's used to. Finally, they reach a cave, signaling they are close to finding the Witch of Taboos. Tukur feels uneasy, but they press on, knowing their mission is almost complete. Tukur realizes that the forest they are in is the natural hunting ground of the big-mouthed monster, and its death cry acted like a beacon, attracting other monsters. He can hardly believe that one sound could summon so many beasts, but notes they still have a little time before the creatures arrive. Eve steps forward, offering to lure the beasts away to give the others time to search for the Witch of Taboos. Lisbeth tries to stop her, but Eve insists, feeling responsible for their situation. She explains that her heightened senses and ability to navigate the terrain make her the best person for the task. Before leaving, she asks Lisbeth to listen to Sarah and Tukur. Tukur agrees to the plan, but only if Eve promises to return alive. He emphasizes that her odds of survival are slim, but she doesn't have to take all the responsibility alone. He points out that the monsters were hidden so well that she couldn't have prevented the attack. Sarah supports Eve's decision, but Tukur admits it's his fault for not using his skills sooner. He insists Eve is essential for their mission to reach the Witch of Taboos, and reminds her that her survival is crucial for smooth negotiations with the witch. Tukur notices his voice projection gem has almost fully hardened, so he integrates it into his mask. He explains that his skills, along with Pigamaru and Slee, give their team the best chance of survival. Tukur takes charge, telling Eve not to worry, and she agrees, understanding the situation. Sarah wishes him luck, and though she's uneasy, she accepts his orders as he leaves. Meanwhile, in another part of the forest, heroes are fleeing from the monsters. Shugo and Kiri fight the beasts, but they quickly realize the creatures see them as mere obstacles. A girl stumbles and is nearly killed, but Kabato saves her. However, the terrified girl runs off, leaving Kabato behind. Kabato tries to stay optimistic, but she bitterly remembers Tuka's supposed death as a monster lunges at her. Back with Tukur, he senses the approaching monsters and explains that he's hidden Sarah and the others in a nearby cave. He summons Slee's ultimate form and prepares for battle. Using his voice projection gem, he broadcasts his voice to lure all the monsters toward him. The beasts take the bait, and Tukur, with Slee and Pigamaru, leads them in a chase. Despite his confidence, Tukur knows the human-faced beasts are powerful, and survival is not guaranteed. As the battle intensifies, Tukur merges with Pigamaru, and Slee charges at full speed. However, the rain begins to pour, making it harder for Tukur to track the monsters and draining his energy. Realizing his MP is nearly depleted, Tukur decides the only way to survive is by leveling up. He targets the human-faced beasts for their high experience points, but he knows it's a gamble. Using his skills, Tukur manages to take down several monsters, leveling up and regaining energy. Despite being surrounded, he keeps using his abilities, fighting off wave after wave of beasts. Each time he levels up, he feels a renewed sense of determination to protect his team. Meanwhile, Eve finds Kabato wandering in the forest. Kabato, filled with doubt and fear, feels useless compared to Ayaka. Eve tries to offer help, but Kabato is terrified. Before Eve can calm her, Itsuki attacks, mistaking Eve for a threat to Kabato. Eve realizes that these are the heroes from another world that Tukur warned her about. But before she can explain, Itsuki strikes again. In the midst of all this, Tukur knows that he must keep pushing forward. He continues to use his skills, relying on Pigamaru and Slee as they face the seemingly endless horde of monsters. Every level up gives him a brief moment of relief, but he knows the battle is far from over. Despite the odds, Tukur remains determined to protect his friends and survive the deadly forest.